Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. And this video today, I'm going to be talking about everything that comes with childcare activities, right? So you may be a provider, or you may just have opened your childcare program, or maybe you just want to grow in a space of quality and you're like, what should I be teaching? What should their schedule look like? What should I be doing? This is the video for you. Or you are thinking about changing your activities, understanding your curriculum. How does your activities and your lesson plan align with everything that's going on in your childcare program? That is what I'm going to be talking about in this video today. Let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to say, when you're thinking about childcare activities, daycare activities, whatever the word is that you want to call it, we got so many words for it nowadays. But when you're thinking about the activities that's in your program, you want to think about the first thing, and I learned this in college, it is going to be developmentally appropriate. Are the activities that teachers or you, whoever it is coming up with the lesson planning and planning of the activities, are they developmentally appropriate for that age group? And I know that seems like a basic bare minimum question, but it's not. I remember a specific time being in that classroom on a day-to-day basis. I was a teacher on a day-to-day basis. And I'm like, okay, I was coming up with more 3 to 5 year old activities, but my classrooms were 1.5 to 2 years old, and their attention span is totally different. So you really want to make sure that all of your activities are DAP. Say it with me, developmentally appropriate practice. That is what you want to make sure, that your activities are meeting those guidelines with whatever your standards are in your state and or city. So you want to make sure that the activities are actually developmentally appropriate. Okay, the next thing I'm going to jump into when you think about childcare activities is you want to ask yourself, these are some key things you may want to have just as a childcare provider, program owner, whatever the case like that may be. You want to decide, how are the lessons being created? Are you going to be using a licensed curriculum? Are you going to be coming up with your own curriculum? Are you going to have a secondary curriculum? Like, there's a lot of options. And I say that to say that the first thing you want to think about, just as the director in your program, is, okay, what themes am I following? What are the foundations? Are we a learning program? Are we a Montessori program? Are we a faith-based program? Like, there's all different types of childcare programs out there, and you want to make sure that your mission statement and your vision is aligning with what you guys are teaching and what service that you're actually providing. So the first thing that I would say is look at your type of childcare program that you have and then align your activities with that. So here's an example. I always tell providers, and I always tell any of people that's in our coaching programs, to look at some of these areas that you should give a guidance to your team with. So it may be what your study is for the month, what your theme is for the month, what your characteristics you're covering for the month, what your letters, your colors, your shapes, your numbers, your focus points. These are all areas that you want to think about when you're creating your lesson plan and when you're providing those activities. One of the biggest, I guess I would say, challenges that I find my teachers struggle with, or just teachers in general and providers in general that I work with, is not knowing how to stretch the activity. Because we all know that we can say that we are going to just paint bumblebees, but how are we really learning from that, right? Or do we have a story to go along with it? Do we have an activity or a game to go along with it? Do we have a song to go along with those bumblebees? Like, learn how to stretch the activity. We want to make sure that we're not just sitting children at the table and saying, hey, this is a piece of paper and we are, painting bumblebees. No, we want to introduce the topic. We want to explore, right? So maybe we want to see, what do kids already know about bumblebees? That's a great intro question. That could be a great question today. I'll make another video about that. We might then want to have sample puppet or bumblebees, on the carpet so that they can feel or that they can see. You may want to introduce a small YouTube video in so they can hear the sound of bumblebees before they paint it, right? You want to maybe ask questions. Where do we see bumblebees at? These are all like entry-level questions that are leading up to us introducing the topic to our children. So you really want to make sure that you understand what's A, developmentally appropriate, and then B, how am I going to introduce this concept? Okay, now that we have the concept introduced, and now we're going to go in and talk about the action actual activities and how to stretch it. So now we're going to talk about stretching the activity, not just like the actual activity, but how can we take this one theme or take this one study and see it everywhere in our classrooms. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I have learned just being a teacher and also being a childcare provider is that it's not just about the study for the day. It's about really bringing that theme to life throughout the classroom. And I've learned that in the space of increasing quality in our classrooms as a Star 4 accredited childcare program. So one of the first things you want to think with, I'm going to stick with the concept of bumblebees, insects, that whole concept, right? Some areas that you can change in your classroom could be your science area, right? We can have books. We can have fake bumblebees. We can have fake tree branches. You can do matching and put bumblebees in the sand, right? You can take one of the wings and pretend and put letters on it or do color shapes or do patterns. Also look at maybe in your block area, like how can I transform my block area with bumblebees? That might be something you're thinking, right? But guess what? We can put trees in that block center. We can build trees, encourage children to build pretend trees with wooden blocks, right? You can also have those fake, like, there's like fake clear, like, insects that you can buy from like, Discount School Supplies, Becker's, Lakeshore, any of the teacher supply stores, having those real life insect bumblebees to then explore them while you're in science, and or if you're in the block area, bringing them into that. Another area in your art center is that instead of giving the children, hey, this is the bumblebee, this is the eyes, this is the ears, this is how it must look. No, we want creativity in the classroom, right? So we really, really want to make sure that yes, we may have an example or a sample in the classroom, but how can they be creative? Like maybe they want their bumblebee to be brown or black or purple. Is not necessarily no wrong or right answer. And I think that's what we want to get away from just as childcare providers, is allowing children to be creative in that space, because that's definitely something how children learn in that space of creativity. Okay. Another great key component that I would say is let's talk about math. Like, how can we incorporate bumblebees or science or insects and math and manipulatives in our fine motors? This is the fun part, okay? So many ways. You can have different size bumblebees, so creating opposite matching games. You can create memory games. So maybe you have different color bumblebees on a memory card and the children have their own. It's almost like a memory game, right? You can also create patterns. So maybe you have objects or teddy bears or like the little fishies, and you can have the bumblebee patterns and create red bees and blue bees and create just different patterns in that math space. Another great way that you can take those same math spaces is not just create patterns, but we can sort. Right? Sorting is a great way. So I hope you guys are catching my drift and how you can take one concept and stretch it to all the different learning areas in our classroom when it comes to manipulatives, dramatic play, science, blocks, and all the other centers that are in our classrooms. Hey guys, and welcome to the Educated Minds channel. I am so glad that you are watching this video. If you are thinking about starting a childcare program, you may be wondering, should I do it? Can I get a little bit of guidance? Make sure that you check out our number one childcare course that there is, and it is our Childcare Startup University self-paced course, guys. In this course, I'm giving y'all the blueprint from A to Z on how to start your childcare program. You don't know, and it's not your job to know. But what is your job is to educate your mind on step A through Z. So therefore, you don't make many mistakes that many of us have in the startup process. You don't waste your money on some of the things that you can be saving on a little bit. And more importantly, you understand what it takes to start a quality-based childcare and profitable-based childcare program. So if you are looking for a self-paced course that is super, super affordable and can get all of your questions answered when it comes for business plans, shopping for buildings, leasing buildings, classroom setup, and everything else in between when it comes to passing those inspections on starting your childcare business, make sure you check out the Educated Minds Childcare Startup University course. The last part that I want to talk about when you're thinking about stretching activities, creating activities, and how to have a really good, well-rounded program is, I think, a combination of not just the academics, but the academics, the learning through play. Another big component that we've actually begun to implement in our childcare program is the social emotional. Like literally, I love our step 2 box when it comes to the social emotional, adding those feelings in, adding those emotions in, just because that is the age group that we're dealing with. We're dealing with temper tantrums. We're dealing with them creatively expressing themselves. We're dealing with some students that may not be as verbal. We're dealing with a lot of social emotional. And I think that just us as childcare providers, we need to accept that. We need to realize that. And we need to figure out how can we tap into the emotion of the children in large group settings and small group settings. So I think having a great balance between academic activities, writing, science, math, music, movement, art, outdoors, physical, like all of those different developmentally appropriate areas is a great way for you to have a well-rounded childcare program. I am not a big fan of saying, oh, because you got a licensed curriculum, your program is bomb. No, okay? I am very, very transparent because I've learned, right? I've learned that learning through play is a great balance, but I also have learned that learning through play with a little bit of structure is also great helpful too for our children to really become kindergarten ready. So I think just seeing where your children are, where your class is, and meeting them where they are. I will say this big rule of thumb is that you want to make sure that you are at least aligning your curriculum, aligning your lesson plans with your state standards. That's important because that takes me back to our number one rule on how you know that your activities are developmentally appropriate. This is aligning it, whether you got a fancy licensed curriculum or not, okay? So definitely make sure that you familiarize yourself with your PA standards. Ours is PA, whatever state you're located in. Make sure that you align yourself and familiarize yourself with what your learning standards are, because that takes me back. You got toddlers, you got infants, you got preschoolers, you got school age, right? There's a range. You can take one simple bumblebee activity, and I'm circling back to the beginning, and make it developmentally appropriate for toddlers, preschoolers, school age, and every other group that there is in between so that it's interesting to them. Because that's what children want. They want interesting, curiosity learning in our classrooms in order for us to make our children kindergarten ready. So if you like this video and more where they came from, make sure that you drop me some comments down below. Let me know what are you guys doing in your classroom. And if you need a full-on lesson plan kit, make sure you check out our website at www.educatedminds.com. We have a full-on lesson plan. I will drop that link in this description on how your teachers can prepare, how they can set up their folders so that when you walk in the classroom, everything's prepared and ready. We not looking and searching through drawers and all that stuff. Is right there and is ready, okay? You want to make sure that the planning when it comes to activity is key. And last but not least, guys, just be creative with it. There is no right or wrong. I think the best thing that we can do as directors is support our staff and support our team through their creativity process. Until next time.